Dating, it's scary enough. Or imagine your boyfriend hearing your voice when you weren't even there. Or waking up to objects moving around on their own. This October, I'm bringing you the creepiest, scariest Reddit stories you'll ever heard. So buckle in, grab your sage, and let's get into it. By the way, guys, I'm trying a new background. I don't know if you'll prefer this one or the other one, because I thought the other one was a little bit more busy, and I want to use my office space for my YouTube videos. So yeah, let me know. Now, let's get into it. This one is from the Paranormal Reddit thread, and it's called My Boyfriend Saw Me and Heard Me, but I wasn't actually there. So, this happened about 4 years ago or so. I was dating a man who was an extreme skeptic when I have always been 100% a believer, even with only one personal paranormal experience before, which is a cool story for another time. He and I had been dating for about 3 years at this point, and I have always had a rule about not pranking, scaring, or tricking my partner, and I've always have been completely honest with him, and he had the same values with me. Despite him being a non-believer to this day, he has always said what he experienced in this story was completely unfabricated and to his dissatisfaction, he still has no explanation for this event even though he had mulled it over for far too many times in the past years. Even after we had ended things between us, he still maintained his skeptic status. But if you ask him to logically explain his incident without paranormal activity of some kind involved, all he says is, I don't know. Now, let me tell you what actually happened. One afternoon, I was getting ready to go out on a date with said boyfriend. I like to do heavy makeup looks for fun when I go out. So per usual, I was standing in the mirror on the dresser creating some eyeshadow look, which notoriously took me a bit of time. My boyfriend decided to go outside while I did this. He wanted to clean up the back porch. So about 15 minutes into me doing my makeup, while listening to some songs played Outlook on my Google Home, but not singing out loud because I didn't want to mess up my makeup. My boyfriend comes barreling in the front door and rushes to where I'm at in my room. He's completely out of breath, looking at me expectantly, with tears in his eyes, as if I'm supposed to know what it is that had him in this state. Which, for context, he was the least emotional person I've ever dated and had only seen him cry about 5 times in our whole 4 years relationship. So I'm confused as hell, as if to try to make any more sense to me, he just yells, What's wrong? Still looking frantic and out of breath. I, of course, just said, What? And he repeated himself again. Just looking at me, I asked him what had him acting so uncharacteristically freaked out. But he's acting like I should obviously know. Confusion between us continues until I get him to explain what he's trying to ask me. His version of events in those few moments when he went outside was this. Says that he went to the yard and was moving fallen limbs and things into a pile as I get ready inside. Couple minutes go by until he's interrupted by me, apparently standing at our sliding glass door that overlooked that part of the yard he's in. He said that I looked extremely distressed, could see my face very clearly, and that I looked scared. He then heard me bang on the door to get his attention as if something was urgent and then heard my voice yell from inside, Get in the house. I need you. Come here, come here. He doesn't hesitate, figuring something was very wrong or that I might be in danger somehow, which is when I see him coming inside. I thought he was pranking me because I haven't moved from where I was at, and the curtains on the sliding glass door was covered still. But like I mentioned before, it was not in our nature to joke like that. He thinks the same things of me when I said I have been standing in front of my dresser the entire time. I'd had him repeat this event, and he did so sounding just as freaked out as he initially did. He said that he saw very clearly me, full body, and distinctly heard my voice, which he said he could never mistake my voice from someone else, like a neighbor. He said he'd watch my mouth yell these words to him, and I looked like I was the one who was freaked out. There was nothing there when he looked for me in the living room next to said door, and found me in my room holding a makeup palette on one hand and a brush in the other. I wasn't even singing along to the music I had playing. So it's not like he heard me singing and mistook it for whatever just happened. Nothing like that had ever happened between us since. Fast forward a few years to my next boyfriend. I still lived in the same house and had told him this story when we were first getting to know each other, as I've always thought it was interesting. He was a mild believer in paranormal activity, but didn't have any stories of his own. A few months into us dating, after he started coming to my house often, he had his own experience. He went out to his car at night and had sat down in it. He had been out there a few moments while was inside watching TV in my bed. He comes in a couple of minutes later looking confused and asked me if I had stepped outside or had called for him, which I did not. Then he tells me that it's weird that I didn't because he had heard my voice distinctly, almost in his ear, while he was in his car smoking. He said that he heard me saying as clear as anything, "What is that?" in an upset tone. When he turned around expecting to see me, there was nothing. He thought about what just happened a few seconds before, getting out of his car and coming directly inside to see if it somehow was really me. I never had any personal experiences like this or any paranormal experiences in that house. I no longer live there, however, but I thought this was worth sharing as it had always bothered me and was in the back of my mind. Okay, this was long. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of like a creepy one. It seemed like it was just attached to the apartment, whatever was what was going there. It didn't seem like whatever it was like harmful or anything like that, I think, or at least it doesn't sound like it. But let's see what Reddit says. So yes, my kid had had an experience similar to this, and it does involve me. When he was in high school, he was in his room sleeping or trying to sleep when I came to his door and looked in, spoke, and then was trying to hand him something. He was very confused and came out of his room and said something to his dad, who then told him I was asleep and had been for hours. There was another occurrence very similar to this, and he has spoken to me and then saw me a little later in the kitchen and asked me if I had changed my clothes. And when I answered no, he relayed that incident to me. We have both heard a mimic speaking in the other person's voice, so we now follow the rule of not answering unless we know for sure it's the person speaking we think it is. That's so true. Growing up, my mom always emphasized on that. If we ever heard someone calling for us with her voice, to never answer just randomly without making sure it was actually her, because that happened to us a lot too growing up. I've had paranormal experiences my whole life from the time I was a very small child, and so has my child. Yep. I've also had some small clairvoyant ability, believe it or not, but it almost never fails. My kid started having paranormal experiences when he was also a very small child. So I don't know. I'm a believer, but I also take a look at paranormal activity with a skeptic eye because I know some things can be faked, and I'm not one of those people who believes absolutely everything is paranormal. Absolutely, I agree. I'm one of those people too. But again, having said that, I've had many actual paranormal experiences. Someone else said, I definitely believe you, and it helps me a little to know that this has actually happened to someone else, as I've never met someone who had a similar encounter. I surround myself in spaces that might be considered paranormal. Loves to spend time in graveyards. Let's not do that, guys. Remember that in that sacred place, the graveyards, there's good and there's also not so good spirits in there. So let's not do that, please. I love to spend time in graveyards and clean gravestones. Have spent plenty of time in haunted locations looking for ghosts. I've always been a believer. Thank you for sharing your experience. I feel less crazy. For me, once I kind of like gather the understanding of, you know, spiritualism and the spiritual world, and what I as a person can see or can sense or whatnot. I try to really stay away from haunted places or graveyards or anything like that. It really takes a lot of my energy, and I really don't want to put myself into difficult situations unnecessarily and unasked for. So yeah, I tend to stay away from those places. And someone else says the first situation could have been an angelic intervention to bring him quickly inside. Not sure why he would have been in danger outside, but you never know. That was all for today. Stay tuned because there's more creepy stories coming up. Let me know if you like my new background. Let me know if you want me to cover a particular story. And please like, share, and subscribe, as that helps me a lot. And it boosts my confidence when doing these videos. Until then, keep your sage close and see you next time. Subscribe!